Ever wish you had like a roadmap for the brain? Some kind of guide to all those billions of neurons?
Right. It'd be incredible.
Well, get this. Scientists are getting closer to actually doing that.
Seriously.
Yeah, we're diving into a new technique that's seriously pushing the boundaries of brain mapping. And
Yeah.
it could totally rewrite how we treat everything from, like, sleep disorders to schizophrenia. It's wild.
It really is.
Hmm.
Researchers at the Salk Institute have developed this, like, game-changing new technology they call START.
Okay, so start catchy name.
It stands for Single Transcriptome Assisted Rabies Tracing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But what does it actually do? The article mentioned something about combining GPS tracking with, like, reading the messages inside each neuron.
Right. That's a great analogy. Basically, START lets scientists track the connections between neurons with this incredible precision, almost like mapping out a network of roads, you know. But here's where it gets really wild. START specifically excels at mapping the connections between a type of neuron called inhibitory neurons.
Inhibitory neurons. Okay, so break that down for us for a second. Why are those so important?
Okay, so think of inhibitory neurons like the brain's traffic lights.
Okay.
They regulate neural activity, making sure things don't get overloaded.
Right.
When these, like, traffic lights malfunction,
Yeah.
it can lead to a whole bunch of neurological problems.
So it's like having a city with no traffic lights, total chaos.
Exactly. And we're just now getting a handle on how these traffic lights actually work in the brain, you know?
Wow.
It's really incredible. Like, previous methods of mapping brain connections were more like having a map of just highways useful but lacking detail. START is like zooming in on that map and seeing every single side street, back road, and even like driveway.
Oh, wow.
It's giving us this unprecedented level of detail about how different types of neurons communicate, especially these crucial inhibitory neurons we were just talking about.
The article mentioned that this could be huge for developing new treatments for neurological disorders.
Definitely.
But what's the link between mapping these neuron connections and, say, helping someone with a specific condition? Like, how does that actually work?
So it's all about understanding how the brain is wired, or, well, I guess, miswired in the case of a neurological disorder, right?
Right.
Like, take autism, for example. It's thought to involve differences in how certain brain areas communicate, potentially because of issues with those inhibitory neurons. Now, imagine being able to pinpoint the exact misfiring connections in an individual's brain using START.
So you're saying this could lead to treatments that are, like, tailored to a person's unique brain wiring.
Precisely. This could allow us to develop highly targeted therapies that address those specific faulty connections, which could mean more effective treatments with way fewer side effects.
Wow, that's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like going from using a sledgehammer to using a scalpel. Much, much more precise.
That's amazing. Imagine a world where conditions like Parkinson's or even, like, depression could potentially be treated by essentially rewiring specific parts of the brain.
Right.
That's pretty wild to think about.
It is. And it's not just about fixing what's broken. START could also help us understand how healthy brains function at, like, a much deeper level. The article highlights how START has already revealed distinct connectivity patterns among different subtypes of inhibitory neurons. One really interesting example they found was the St. Shuttle cells.
Okay, so we're going even deeper now. We're looking at different types of inhibitory neurons.
Exactly.
What's so special about these St. Shuttle cells?
Well, what's fascinating here is that START showed St. Shuttle cells have these really dense connections to layer 6 excitatory neurons.
Okay.
Now, these excitatory neurons are like the gas pedal. They send signals that tell other parts of the brain to get going.
Right.
And guess where these particular excitatory neurons project to?
I'm on the edge of my seat, tell me.
The thalamus, a brain region that's super involved in sleep rhythms.
So are you saying these St. Shuttle cells could be like a hidden control panel for our sleep-wake cycle?
That's exactly what the research suggests. This kind of detailed understanding could lead to, like, revolutionary new treatments for sleep disorders.
Wow.
Imagine a world where insomnia is like a thing of the past, all thanks to this brain mapping technology. And that's just one example. The possibilities with this are vast.
This is blowing my mind. We've gone from wishing for a brain roadmap to, like, potentially controlling sleep cycles.
Right.
All in one deep dive. It's incredible.
And it gets even wilder. This whole thing about sleep regulation is super interesting, but it gets even more interesting when you start thinking about how this technology could be used for, like, gene editing.
Yeah, the article mentioned something about viral vectors.
Right.
What are those exactly?
So basically, viral vectors are like these microscopic delivery trucks for the brain. They're modified viruses, But don't worry, they're harmless to humans that can deliver specific genes to targeted neuron subtypes.
Okay, so I know the idea of using viruses to treat the brain might sound a little,
Yeah, a little scary.
a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But these aren't the kind that make you sick, right? These are modified to be totally harmless.
Exactly.
And they basically act like these tiny delivery trucks carrying beneficial genes directly to the neurons that need them.
Precisely. Think of it this way. If a neurological disorder is caused by a faulty gene in like a particular type of neuron,
Right.
we could potentially use START to develop a viral vector that delivers the corrected gene to just those specific neurons.
So we're talking about like actually going in and fixing the problem at its root, not just treating the symptoms.
Exactly. These modified viruses could potentially correct faulty genes, boost the activity of certain neurons, or even silence overactive ones. It really paves the way for like truly personalized brain therapies.
So someone with, say, schizophrenia, which we know involves like disruptions in inhibitory neuron activity, they could potentially have their brain circuits like retuned
Yes.
using this gene editing technology. It's amazing.
That's the idea. It's like having a mechanic who can fine-tune the engine of your car, making sure everything is running smoothly.
This is all starting to sound like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know, right?
But seriously, the potential here is enormous.
It really is.
What's next for this technology? What are the researchers hoping to accomplish in the near future? It's mind-blowing to think that we could be on the verge of treating neurological disorders at such a precise level. It's incredible.
I know. And this is just the beginning. Really?
Really?
Yeah. The Salk Institute team is already working on developing even more sophisticated viral vectors.
Wow.
Ones that can deliver a wider range of genetic payloads to even more specific neuron subtypes.
So we're talking about an even more targeted approach. It's like those microscopic delivery trucks are getting equipped with GPS and laser-guided precision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're also exploring ways to start with other, cutting-edge technologies.
Oh, wow. Like what?
Well, like optogenetics,
Epigenetics, okay.
which lets researchers control neurons using light.
Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. So how would that work?
Okay, so imagine being able to, activate or inhibit specific neuron subtypes with the flick of a light switch.
Wow.
That's essentially what optogenetics allows us to do. And by combining this with START's precise mapping abilities,
Yeah.
researchers could potentially develop highly targeted therapies that can be, turned on and off as needed.
Wow, that's incredible. The possibilities are pretty much endless. But with all this talk about mapping and potentially manipulating brain circuits,
Right.
it makes you think about the ethical implications,
Oh, absolutely.
Are there any concerns about how this technology might be used?
That's the big question, isn't it? Like any powerful tool, START has the potential for both good and harm, right? It's crucial that researchers, ethicists, and policymakers all work together to make sure that this technology is developed and used responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we're entering this whole new frontier of brain science.
Right.
And with any new frontier, we need to proceed carefully
I agree.
and with a lot of thought.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
It's amazing how much progress is being made in neuroscience these days.
It really is an exciting time.
It feels like we're on the verge of this whole new era of understanding and treating the brain,
Absolutely. It's an incredible time to be working in this field.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining me on this incredible journey into the world of brain mapping.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Who knew neurons could be so fascinating, right? And for our listeners, if you want to learn more about this amazing world of brain mapping and the groundbreaking work being done with START, be sure to check out the Salk Institute's website.
For resource.
They have a ton of fascinating information and resources available to the public. Until next time, keep those synapses firing.